I'm Roger. I'm here with Ray DelMuro. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
DelMuro, yeah. And Ray is the owner of Refresh Glass. And your story, man, is something else.
Thank you.
The fact that you are on a mission to save 10 million wine bottles from destruction. What number are we at so far? How many?
Almost 2 million.
2 million. All right, so tell the story a little bit. Like, what's the background of the whole thing?
Well, so as a kid, I liked making things, and then it kind of got a little more extreme. I bought a hot rod in college.
Oh.
And so I loved building it so much, I'm almost finished paying off the student loans that I used to build it. Right now, we're really close. But I got a job at Toyota. So it was 4 engineering spots at Toyota in the Bay Area in California. You know, for engineering students, I got to work right under the VP of engineering for all of Toyota.
Wow.
And Toyota's really high up there in the engineering world.
Sure.
So after that, it was a good resume builder, and I got a job for an aerospace company, and I became an engineer for them.
Uh-huh.
And what happened is after 5 years, I started getting promoted, and I didn't get to work on stuff anymore. I got to manage people and money and schedules. And so I resigned, and now I manage people, money, and schedules for Refresh Glass. But really, I wanted to find something that had that engineering aspect to it, and the emotional aspect to it, like something you just love to build or love to have, love to work on, and the altruistic side. So after the engineering spot, I actually went on a trip around the world for a year.
A year?
Yeah, I did 21 countries and 39 cities.
Wow.
In 1 calendar year. And it was after that that I really decided that, you know, the traveling mentality is just appreciating the cultures you're in and the places you're at. And so I wanted to make a product, because that's what my background was, and I love building stuff that actually made a difference, that people were emotionally attached to at the same time. And that's how Refresh Glass initially started, because it was a low barrier of entry, but it was really hard to do.
Understood. So was there an epiphanous moment when you were in the middle of all that travel that ultimately led to the actual Refresh Glass itself? Or was it more of an evolution?
I think it was a built up frustration, to be perfectly honest. I was just so upset that I didn't want to go back to the engineering world, because I can still do that today. I'm still really good friends with my boss, and he runs a $2 billion a year mega aerospace brand, you know, but what I really wanted to do is to figure out how to build a brand that actually moves the needle, not just in terms of perception of value, but like really helps the world in some way. And for whatever reason, I had a couple of wine bottles around, you know, and so I looked up some YouTube videos, and there's some kits you can get online for $40, and I thought they sucked.
Yep.
And my engineering side, I just wanted to figure out a way to do it better. And it just grew from there, from a farmer's market, 10 by 10 foot booth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for the potential consumer who might be watching this, from a product perspective, talk about the product set, kind of what it is, where the products come from, like the mechanics of actually what happens.
Sure. So from the logistics side, you have to start at the commodities markets. So raw material, once it's recycled, has a specific value for cardboard, for aluminum, for plastic, and for glass. Glass is actually one of the most problematic materials, because it can't be bundled, palletized, or wire wrapped. It has to be separated into 3 different colors, and you have to remove all the caps and the corks, and they call it foreign object debris, FOD. And so glass is actually a money loser. So the recycling companies lose money collecting glass.
Wow.
And so a lot of times, because it's inert, you know, it doesn't grow fungus or you know, mold or anything,
right,
that they use it as the fill in the landfill, even when it gets recycled half the time.
Really?
That's the big secret that no one's supposed to know, but a lot of times it's not even recycled, depending on where it's collected. So we work directly with restaurants and bars and hotels, so that the bottles, after they come off the tables, they get collected, and I tell my drivers to be like Batman, you know what I mean? Like, try to get in, get out, you know what I mean, without being seen. Don't bother them, so that you don't get in their way. And if they see them, give them a high five, you know, and say hi. But really, we collect hundreds of thousands of bottles a year that would have been thrown away, because the city no longer has the funds to collect recycling from businesses or multi-unit homes in most cities, especially with China not collecting our recycling anymore.
Correct.
So this becomes a huge problem. 26% of glass is recycled at this point in the US. And so we got an award for Recycling Small Business of the Year for our state, because we're moving so many tons of glass that would have just been buried.
Nice. And walk me a little bit through, like, as a consumer, my first initial thought process is like, is it clean? Is it sterile? Would I really want to use that?
Totally.
So like, Talk a little bit about that piece of it.
Sure. So we have a cool 60-second video that shows every step of the process because it's very visual, and it's kind of cool to watch it go through. So we clean out the insides in a specialized dishwasher that we bought. And then we take off the label, we crack it in half or wherever we want the height of the glass to be.
Sure.
And then we melt the rim and stress relieve the glass in ovens. And so it's this ovens part that I kind of wanted to touch on because nothing organic can survive at over 1,000 degrees.
Okay.
Nothing that would be gross, you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean, unhealthy.
Right.
And so part of our process is the stress relieving process, so it's as durable as possible. So our glasses are used in high volume restaurants. It's actually used at Spago here and Caesars, and it's used in Husk and Charleston, and we're in hundreds of restaurants across the country, and that's kind of where we started focusing before we started coming into the promo world. But that annealing process at 1,000 degrees, even if there was anything gross on it, it's absolutely gone by the time that it gets to anyone's home.
I want to take you with me on the calls because just listening to you describe the way that it inspires confidence in me, like, oh wow, like that's totally buttoned up.
Right? To it. It's my engineering brain. I'm like way on the left.
So from a product set perspective, what would be some of the things that people could purchase?
Sure, 2-packs are really popular right now just because of the price point. If you have a large customer set that you're gifting to of glasses, 4-packs of mixed color glasses are the most popular in either the 12 or 16 ounce sizes. So either just like a cocktail rocks glass or a pint glass you might drink water out of. And the mixed color usually does the best because it helps tell the story. It's like a Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. Right. Because every set is different in terms of the colors and the sizes and the shapes and the feel and the weight. There's hundreds of different wine bottle shapes and thicknesses. And the size of the punt, the bump in the bottom. You know, so it's the story to tell, and for especially affluent people who don't need stuff, what they really want is something that makes them look cool to their inner circle that actually is a story that they can share.
A story, for sure.
So someone comes over to your house.
Hey, nice wine glass.
Hey,
let me tell you.
This? I got it from my realtor. I got it from my insurance agent. And so it actually helps get referrals and repeat business because it helps the gifter's story get told more often.
Right. Yep, totally get that.
This totally simple seeming product that's so difficult to source and make because they don't make machinery for what we do. Right.
And so 12 ounce, 16 ounce, you package them up. I think it's important, like you've thought through the whole process of the fact that you are a recycler in that even your packaging and everything that goes along with the finished product is a representation of that ethos. So talk a little bit about how things are packaged and what the product looks like once it's in its finished packaging as well.
Yeah, I'm all about the wow effect. I want when someone to open it, it's like, oh my God, and I want them to want to look it up because we have gotten a lot of press. Like you had mentioned earlier, we've been in Forbes, Inc., and MSNBC because it's so visual and it's so hard to create a purpose for profit company so that we're not reliant on donations and grants so that we can stay around for forever. So to answer your question specifically, all of the cardboard is as much percentage recycled as we can find because some products cannot be 100% totally recycled materials because of the way that they're constructed. But really, we offer custom gift wrapping, an MOQ of 1, no setup fees. So we want people to be able to test it out first, to try it to see the effect that they have. And so whether it's for someone's office or for someone's home, if it's gift wrapped and it comes with a handwritten note that my team still handwrites, which is totally laborious and ridiculous, really, considering some of the volumes of orders that we do by the pallet. Or drop shipping going out to hundreds of different addresses. We use kind of a craft paper that's similar to a grocery bag. So everything just kind of has this really cool, rustic, handmade craftsman feel. So it's basically like buying Etsy, but buying it at volume and making it super easy for the buyer. So you just send us your artwork like a normal promo supplier. But the feeling and the impact that it has is the very opposite of mass produced.
As someone who has presented your product, the wow factor is 100% accurate. I've never yet had someone look at me and say, whether or not they ultimately decide to make that buying decision or not, set that piece of it aside. But the discussion is like, wow, what a really unique idea. This is really interesting. I love the way it's packaged. I mean, it really has been fun for me to watch people's reactions when I present it to them.
So the fascinating part about this for impact or purpose-driven sustainable world is that there's still the fiscal realities of price point. and you have to be able to support and pay your bills as the supplier. As I'm a manufacturer, really.
Right.
And so this is where it gets to the point where we just fully partner with Waste Management, which is a big deal because they're the 800-pound gorilla in the waste world, right? So we just did all the CEO of Waste Management's personal gifts.
Nice.
So I was talking on the phone with his wife, who's a really nice lady.
Nice.
And so where it's coming to now is that as we grow in volume, I actually plan on bringing my prices down because my ultimate goal, and I'm talking with people who manage glass, the bottle makers, to go the full, it's called a closed loop cycle, right?
Sure.
So instead of being pulled from the ground, used, and ending up in the ground, that's called the linear cycle, is what they call it in the recycling world. And I have two big conferences I'm going to, in later this month and in early February. But our closed loop cycle, I'm working on connections with every part of that cycle. So with the bottle makers, Gallo makes 2 million wine bottles a day.
Wow.
And they use 35% of all of California's recycled glass.
Wow.
The volume is in the tons per day. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And so I'm working on partnering with all of them, with the distributors that sell the on-premise and off-premise, which in the lingo, it basically means off-premise is you buy a bottle of wine, you take it home.
Right.
On-premise is like a restaurant or a hotel where you drink it there. Yeah. And that's the terms that distributors use. So now I'm building connections with every step of the chain.
That's awesome.
To make it in their benefit, to help us grow so that I can increase my manufacturing efficiencies, which is the part that I geek out about.
And decrease your cost at the same time.
As much as I want to be here giving you guys all high fives, I'd much rather be like A.T. MacGyver, Wino Wonka at home, just like making stuff.
Ooh, look at this new thickness glass. We can play with this, right?
I geek out. I call myself an internet explorer instead of an industrial engineer, just because I found things from so many different industries to make our tooling out of. Yeah. And that's why it's so hard to copy what we've done.
That's awesome. So my hardline people out there, the analyticals, are going to say, well, now tell me about the results. How many units have we sold? What kind of growth are we seeing? Like, what's been the reaction from the marketplace to what you're doing, and what kind of growth path are you seeing?
Yeah, I honestly think we're going to double this year. And really I want to talk about the results part because number one is so important and it's so hard, especially in these highly competitive industries for insurance, for financial planners, for them to keep their book of business because there's so much competition.
Totally.
And so the place where we've excelled most is giving gifts to people that don't need stuff.
Right.
Which for anyone writing POs, that's worthy enough to gift to spend some money on, they most likely don't need stuff.
Correct.
So where we've really found our sweet spot, and it's because of those reactions that I actually am entering the promotional products industry, is they love showing their friends and their family. Yeah. One of the people that I gifted to, I found him randomly at an event, and he said, "You make me look good in front of my wife." And I was like, well, tell me more about that. Yeah. I was like, this is a totally awkward conversation. Tell me more. And he said, every time someone comes over, my wife shows them your glasses and tells a story about how I got them from my client.
Oh, isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And so he had no idea who I was. I told him, he's like, oh, we have your glasses at home. We love them. We use them every day. And they sit in the cupboard and they only get brought out when people come over. Yeah. And so that's what's so hard to do in the commodity-based business of mass produced, and a lot of products are from overseas, and that's part of the conversation now is with China tariffs and with everything going on with sustainability. It feels like we just got shot out of a cannon because we've been doing this for 12 years, but the world market conditions have never quite been like this before.
They've caught up to you.
They have.
In a lot of ways.
We're going to be like a 12-year instant success.
The overnight sensation, 12 years in the making, no doubt. So the fun part about this is ultimately what I hope would be the case is that someone's going to watch this and they're in the midst of perhaps making a buying decision about one product or another, hopefully from us. Thank you, Mr. Buyer, that you might be buying from Social Good Promotions. What would you want that buyer to know if refresh glass was one of the choices that they had from the different things that they might pick? What would be the one thing that you would want them to be thinking about as they're pulling the trigger?
Yeah, I do a lot of public speaking for sustainability conferences or entrepreneurs or college students. And so I call it a head, heart, and soul buying decision, where it's the head part is it's logical, it's functional, it's dishwasher safe, it'll be around. It'll be around for long enough to give to your kids if you don't throw it or drop it. There have even been instances of our glasses bouncing, they're so thick, off the tile floor.
Totally.
The heart part is the emotional attachment, knowing that you're doing something good for the world, that they're super stylish, they're used at, Francis Ford Coppola's winery, Wolfgang Puck restaurants, Ritz-Carlton. If that's not fancy enough for it, I don't know what is, And then the soul part is just that we actually are moving the needle in the recycling world. If we're good enough for the CEO of Waste Management and to be partnered up with them on a corporate level, they just gave our glasses out at Media Day for the biggest zero to landfill event in the world.
Wow.
So we actually are walking the walk. We give glasses, our blems, anything that has a little tarnish or imperfection on it, we give to Habitat for Humanity.
Nice.
We have a happy hour series for the Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Nice.
You know what I mean? We use some autistic adults, to do some of the simpler, project tasks at the shop. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the community development, we are walking the walk in so many different ways, even outside of our collection mission.
Yeah, and sum total of that buying decision would be, in that instance, the certainty that I'm buying something that's from a closed loop system. Mm-hmm. I'm buying something from an engineer who's actually interested in it having a positive impact, and then the ripple effect of what your organization is doing, in addition to the fact that the purchase will also make that person look good. They have literally what you're saying is like the story that's embedded in the purchase, to me, is as important, if maybe more important, really, than the product itself.
Exactly. Everyone kind of nods their head when I describe the head, heart, and soul part, or it could be logic, emotion, and community impact. There's so many different synonyms for how to put it.
Sure.
Plato had the beautiful, the true, and the good, which is actually what I talk about a lot in the article that you just read.
Right.
That's perfect timing. So this thing has been around that people have noticed for 2,500 years. Before there was toilet paper and cones for ice cream or sandwiches, they actually put in bread. Do you know the story of the sandwich? This is really funny.
Tell me the story.
There was an Earl of Sandwich, and he was a gambler, so I thought it was a perfect Vegas story. And he didn't want to get up for the gambling table, so he asked his chef to put his meat between two pieces of bread so he could just sit there and eat it while he gambled.
That's great. That's awesome.
This idea has been around for longer than that. So it's called the Big Three, and in philosophical world, with Ken Wilber and all these big brain thinkers that try to like the theory of everything.
Sure.
These crazy people, that this theory is fundamental to all of it, and everyone has always been searching for all three at the same time. So what I tried to do with Refresh Glass is to bundle the function and the emotion and the community impact or the purpose together in a tight little package for people to be able to gift to the people that are key in their world, which is their employees, which is their clients, and the business that they want to get from people at events.
I couldn't say it any better than that. We've tried to condense it down to a single sentence now, and the one we've been toying around lately is give the gift of giving. Mm-hmm. And we know with certainty that your products are full of giving. So when that person's giving that gift away, they certainly are giving the gift of giving when it comes to that. So you have a big, hairy, audacious number of bottles that you're trying to get to.
Yeah, so the 10 million number isn't big enough.
I agree.
And so where we're going with it now is that I just talked to ASU is in my hometown, and I'm working with students there. So I'm going to start working with 200 and 300 level classes to develop new products from different commodities that can be decorated on.
Nice.
And so eventually it's not just going to be glass, but it's going to be a mindset of how to build a for-purpose, for-profit company that engages people in a very emotional way. And so I'm repeating the same thing over and over again. It's the logic, emotion, head, heart, and soul, the beautiful, the true, and the good. Just to do it over and over again, but to make it replicatable to where the next generation can do it over and over again. And it's this Joseph Campbell hero's journey part where there's been a lot of books written lately that says that the business owner's role is not of Luke Skywalker, but of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Correct.
Where we're supposed to give people the tools and the maps, and the lightsabers, and the group of friends for them to be able to grow with. So I see it being much bigger than just the 10 million bottles. I needed to have something to stamp on the box.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
it's a seemingly ambitious number at the time. I think has proven to be right.
Yeah, it used to be 1, and then my digital marketing team. They're like, that's not big enough. I was like, okay, 10. And so now what it's really going to be is I want to be able to work with the bottle manufacturer so they're thinking about me collecting when they're making it.
There you go.
And that's ambitious, you know, and now I'm getting the network to where I can do that.
Awesome. Well, we hope to sell some more. I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight on your buying decision when it comes to a gift that you may be wanting to give to someone that has a story that goes along with it, man. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
Thanks a lot, bud.
Cheers.